Designed by the legendary Yoshizaki Mine of Kimono Friends, it is the lunar twin in a set of 2 twin maids. This is MID05 Lunanshira, with a kit of Sanctuary, Glitch Vulcan, Super Repair, Biped Legs, and the leg ability of Abscond, which buffs mobility while in cool phase. Now, compared to her solar twin Lunanshira, Lunanshira puts more of an emphasis on cover fire from the back and providing healing bonuses where possible, with some very potent skills that she has under the table, essentially as a plague doctor or plague nurse, so to speak, with the ability to provide healing or provide plague as necessary based on how the team needs her to operate. And just as speedy and synergetic as her twin means she can be used just about anywhere fairly consistently. Sanctuary on the head part is a healing skill that provides 2 very potent effects to the ally in question she chooses to bless it unto. The first of which is that it grants the Hyper Repair Metaforce effect to an ally in question, which is a very potent healing over time effect as long as the effect is active. So if you can't directly heal the ally right away, this does make it very easy to kind of not really pay as much attention to them and let that build up over time, since it's a very potent effect to all parts at the same time for every tick that it officially procs and begins. Additionally, Sanctuary also grants a stack of mobile boost to the ally in question as well. So this means that not only are you giving them a little bit more of a healing effect to kind of keep them in the fight longer, but you're also giving them just a little bit more of a pep in their step to kind of keep things going up with the speed department, and just guarantee that if they're starting to fall behind, well, that's definitely not going to be the case anymore. Glitch Vulcan on the right arm, and the first instance of this on a non-collaboration model, is a shooting skill that has a scatter effect, which means it will damage 1 part normally and then 2 others randomly for extra damage. However, Glitch Vulcan is even more so potent than the ability of hitting multiple parts at once, and that's the fact that it will inflict 2 random negative ailments on the enemy in question. And no, I'm not saying it is either one ailment or the other, I'm saying it is 2 negative ailments, 2 stacks, at the same time. Those negative ailments include Mud, Curse, Survivor, Replay, Melt, Wave, Evade Seal, and Virus. So you have a lot of very powerful and equally as potent negative ailments that Lunanshira here is able to inflict on the enemy in question. And even if her damage is fairly modest at about 1429, what I really want to point out here is the fact that she has an extremely impressive heating skill of 1051. So this means that unless something is just stupidly fast, she's going to have a very easy time running to the center line to fire that bad boy off, which means she can throw out a ton, and I mean a ton, of different negative ailments across the enemy and lay waste to them extremely efficiently whenever she's not providing healing. On the topic of healing, Super Repair on the left arm is a healing skill that grants a large and a very potent amount of healing to all parts of an ally in question, with the level of efficiency that Super Repair grants relative to the amount of healing mastery on the metal specifically. So unlike a lot of parts that get damage plus or healing plus relative to, say, terrain or another kind of effect, Super Repair and most healing skills in general will tie their efficiency very heavily based on the mastery of the metal. So the higher that mastery is in healing, the more potent it is and the more HP you're going to get back, completely regardless of any other condition that might come against it. Biped Legs means that Lunanshira will have fairly solid coverage across all terrains as a fairly good all-rounder and beginner-friendly kind of leg with terrain compatibility, and her stats are actually pretty solid as well, kind of in the mirror essence of where Lunanshira was. With a base mobility of 896, she's just a hair faster than her sister, but she also has a very solid start in the speed department all the same, before any other modifiers. An evade of 792, though, is actually where she differs very greatly from her sister, though, as she's not going to be putting as heavy of an emphasis on dodging or grazing, and it's going to be just a little bit easier to land hits on her more consistently because she's not going to be moving around as often. A melee resist of 822 is okay, not terrible, but could be better. It just means that she is going to be suffering a little more from enemies that are trying to get up close in her face. But a shoot resist of 1388 is also very nice, as this means she can hold her own a whole lot easier at range than she can up close and personal. In the armor department, though, she is fairly bulky as well, very akin to her sister in essentially the exact same mirror kind of effects. With a head armor of just shy of 3600, right arm at just barely 3900, left arm at 3839, and legs just over 4000 as well, means that she also is fairly healthy in that department as well. So even though she can take hits fairly decently, especially when exchanging those pot shots with the enemy shooters, it does mean that she can hold her own fairly well in all cases considered. And Abscond also is very nice, as this does give her an extra added bonus when she's in cooling. So if she wasn't already going fast alone, either with Sanctuary and the mobile boost or something similar, Abscond gives her just a little bit more of a pep in her step when she's recharging to make it easier to use those skills a lot faster and be ready to fire off another one on another turn. All this being said, though, as a pure set score, I honestly have to rate Lunanshira just a little bit higher than her sister, actually, at about a 6.5 out of 10 in the upper middle of the road range. Now, with the kind of healing that Lunanshira brings to the table, she is extremely potent in that respect, especially with Sanctuary giving the hyper repair meta force effect and a mobile boost stack on top of that. But unfortunately, it does also kind of interfere and coincide with super repair, because they both heal all parts at the same time. So realistically, at that point you have to decide, do you want the healing over time, or do you want a burst amount of healing right away? Because unfortunately, they both are going to kind of do the same thing overall. The difference is, one just adds an extra effect, but takes longer to kick in. And Glitch Vulcan, honestly, is probably going to be the most potent and easily the best piece on her, though, as the damage is honestly fairly good, like I said, with a very good success stat and cooldown, but that heat stat at 1051, I just can't get enough of, because that's going to make it extremely easy for her to outrun a lot of things and possibly get in a lot of very crippling ailments before the enemy even has a chance to figure out what's going on. And the leg ability of Abscond is nice, as this does allow her to be able to recharge fairly easily, like I said, after using any kind of skill. As mixed parts, though, I do have to rate her just a little bit higher at a 7 out of 10 for these reasons. Unfortunately, one of the really big problems that Lunanshira has is the fact that she's really good at restoring lost HP, but if a part is ever broken or an ally falls, that's kind of it, and this Lunar Nurse kind of loses half the reason that she'd be on the team as the healer. But if you were to mix them up as a designated healer and switch her up with something that can restore broken parts or even revive fallen allies, then you can really start cooking and put her to some very potent use as the team healer. Alternatively, you can also use Glitch Vulcan just about anywhere for the very powerful array of negative ailments it has at its disposal, and that very high heating stat means it's going to be very difficult for enemies to outrun it unless they're already stupidly fast on their own. And if you pair that with Abscond, it does mean you're going to have just an easy of a time recharging, so you can possibly use it again and spam as many negative ailments as you can in as few turns as possible.